Continuing my series on small space gardening methods, today we're talking about GreenStalk vertical gardens. If you don't have much space, they're an easy way to grow a surprising amount of food in a small footprint. It's a tiered soil planter with multiple pockets. It's perfect for someone with limited sunlight options because you can rotate it to maximize the sunlight that your garden receives. You can really get a lot of food into a small space. I got these GreenStalks last fall when I ran out of room in my raised beds for my onions and garlic. I'd been hesitant to try these because of our heat, but I'd heard from other hot climate growers that they do surprisingly well, so I decided to give them a try. So far, things are growing pretty well. It does have some limitations, and I have learned a couple of things the hard way. I'm going to share everything in today's video. I'm Angela from Growing in the Garden. My garden's in Mesa, Arizona. I want to help you succeed even if you're gardening in tough conditions. Setup was easy. I filled up each tier with a raised bed mix from Arizona Worm Farm and added in a little bit of organic fertilizer. One bag filled up 2 tiers. I planted it out with lots of onions and garlic. Unfortunately, right after planting, we had that brutal heat wave and a lot of the garlic rotted because it got so hot. I didn't see the same effect in my raised beds. Some of the onions died too, so I replanted some of the onions, and in the spots where the garlic didn't sprout, I added broccoli, kale, spinach, and lettuce. As temperatures cooled and the days got shorter, I moved them into full sunlight. I wanted to maximize the sunlight during those cooler months. Watering is simple. Fill up this top reservoir and it trickles down into the rest of the pockets. But here's what I learned the hard way. It has to be level. Otherwise, some pockets will get lots of water and others will dry out. You'll need to fertilize GreenStalks regularly. The nutrients can wash out with the water, and they don't have enough time to build up that good microbiology that we love in our raised beds, so we're gonna need to add it in with fertilizer. I fertilize about once a month. I pour liquid fertilizer into the reservoir with the water. Follow package instructions based on how much soil is in your GreenStalk. As the season went on and the harvest began, I noticed that the crops in the GreenStalk did not grow as large as their raised bed counterparts, but I still got plenty of broccoli, kale, and anemone flowers. Towards the end of the season, my broccoli in my GreenStalk bolted before the broccoli in my bed, and the kale here in the GreenStalk got aphids first. Although the plants grow and can grow well, it is a little bit tougher conditions for these plants. I've already planted other warm season crops like bush beans, cantaloupe, peppers, and lots of basil. The onions and garlic are still growing. I'll harvest those in a few weeks, and then I'll add more plants to fill in those spots. Even though this is a small gardening space, I'm still implementing companion planting principles. That means I'm planting herbs and flowers among my vegetables. And when I'm growing things like dill, I let it bolt and leave it in place to attract pollinators. I've noticed that the crops that are at the top of the planters tend to get the most sun. My pepper plant that's up top gets plenty of sunlight, and so it's growing a little bit faster than maybe one that's a little bit further down. One of the crops I'm most excited about growing in the GreenStalk this summer is cantaloupe. I've got several tucked in different pockets, and I'm going to use my favorite trellising method, ladder mesh block, to help them grow up and over the GreenStalk. The last of the cool season crops are finishing up. I'm going to harvest the remaining spinach and lettuce and then fill those empty spots with some warm season flowers. When it was time to take out those plants, I pulled the whole thing out of the GreenStalk, roots and all. That's different from how I normally treat my raised beds. But I want to maximize the soil that is in these GreenStalks, not have it be full of roots. So this lettuce, with the heat we've had, has bolted. So it's bolted, it's even got, it might have a little bit of powdery mildew on here. Not gonna eat this one goes right to the chickens. I didn't even see you guys today. How you doing? Good morning. I'm gonna add just a little bit of soil to fill these pockets back up from those plants that I took out. When you're thinking about what to plant in your GreenStalk, it's always a good idea to look for dwarf varieties or smaller types that won't overwhelm the GreenStalk. So for zinnias, I'm planting this dwarf variety zinnia that will still have lots of flowers, but it's not going to have really tall stems. The vincas, this is my favorite type of vinca. It's a trailing vinca, so I'm excited to see those blooms kind of cascade over the front of that pocket. And I have some cosmos. They could grow tall, so I'm going to try and add them to the top of the planter, but it'll add a lot of height and whimsy to this space. Here's what I'm doing to help this GreenStalk grow well as we head into the hotter months of summer. First, I moved it from its location in full sun back into this location that gets morning sun and afternoon shade. Because these back areas won't get as much sunlight, it's important to rotate it each time that I water so both sides of the GreenStalk get plenty of sunlight. I'm adding mulch. As the days have heated up, I've noticed I'm getting a fungus gnat infestation from this moist soil. Part of that, I think, is because this soil isn't covered. So the gardener in me is like, we gotta add some mulch, and hopefully that will help with the fungus gnats, but also help protect that soil and keep it from drying out. I'll water as needed. I'll check the soil before watering. I'll be interested to see how often these will need extra water during the summer. I'll water from the top and let it go down, but I'm also checking individual pockets to make sure that they're not drying out. As that water drains out the bottom, it's hard to know if every pocket is getting enough moisture. I'm watching to see how these plants handle the heat. If we get a heat wave, the nice thing about something portable like this GreenStalk is that I can move it back under a more protected area under this pergola. I'm looking forward to harvesting beans and peppers, and I'm really excited about having these cantaloupes grow up and over these GreenStalks. I hope that experiment works out. Overall, the GreenStalk doesn't take up much space. You can move it if you need to, and you can grow a lot of different crops in one space. But if this is your only way to garden, don't be surprised if your harvests are smaller than what you're seeing other people pull out of their raised beds. It's a great option for small spaces or if you want to keep gardening simple. Stay tuned for my end of summer update. I'll share what worked, what didn't, and what I learned along the way. If you're gardening in a GreenStalk, especially in a hot climate, give me all your tips in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I talk about that later. Oh, I'm on? Okay. I have one other line to say. I don't know. Should I just end with that?